Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci fi show where things can get totally radical. Now, today I will be interviewing a, a multiple threat pretty much. He's a writer, director, producer, actor, caster of a new movie on Amazon Prime called Warfighter, and his name is Jerry G. Angelo. I met him a month ago at Fandemic Comic Con in Sacramento. Really nice guy, and it's a very, very touching, compelling, hard hitting movie that he made about post traumatic stress disorder. And I'm going to be talking to him today. Also, I'd like to say happy birthday to my late Nana. She would have been 98 today. Rest in peace, Nana. I love and I miss you every day. And you are greatly missed. And this weekend is the San Diego Comic Con. I wish I could go. I'm going to make it a point to try to go next year. I've never been before, but this is the most anticipated year probably in the history of the con. And my good friend and past guest, Anastasia Washington, will be doing a panel there. I haven't done the research yet on what it's about, but she will be doing it nonetheless. So check it out if you're in San Diego. So yeah, here's my interview with Jerry D. Jerry Jerry G. D'Angelo. Hey Jerry, welcome to the show.
Yeah, hey, how are you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Yeah, excited.
Well, thank you for taking the time today. This is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely, man. What's been going on with your morning? What do you usually do?
Usually sleeping in the morning, and then around this time I usually get up. That's the perks of recovering from an accident.
Oh, which accident? What happened?
I had a car accident 3 years ago. I got hit by a car.
Oh God, I'm sorry.
Well, it's the best thing that ever happened to me because I wouldn't be talking to you and I wouldn't be pursuing the biz if it wasn't for that. It was the best thing for me. I was a lost soul and I was a wreck before the accident.
Oh wow. Well, you know what? If as I learn more about you, if there's any way I can help or contribute more than just myself into this interview, I have lots of resources and friends and stuff. So you know, don't be shy to hit me up.
Oh, that would be great, Jerry. That would be so great. I appreciate that. So, going back to the beginning, um, so when did you know that you wanted to be a part of this crazy little thing called showbiz?
You know what? There's always been in me. I didn't realize that necessarily as being part of the business. But as early as a kid, as 4 or 5 years old, I was listening to GI Joes.
Mm-hmm.
So this is back growing up in the '80s,
Right.
1980s. So I had GI Joes, and my father was big on movies, and always took me to the movies, and I'd watch Aliens and Predator, and all sorts of kind of movies. Military movies were my favorite.
Right.
And then every time I watched a movie, I'd go home and I'd have my 40 GI Joes, and I'd just play with GI Joes and recreate the movie. And all my GI Joes had different voices, and I would play all the different characters. And I didn't realize this until I was in my late 20s or so that I said, you know what, that's where my first acting experience happened. My
Wow.
storytelling and creating. So that's it was always kind of in me, and it wasn't until again my early 20s that I realized that I wanted to be in the entertainment business. I'd done politics on the national state level, and I had wanted to get into the FBI, so I was kind of geared for that kind of lifestyle. And then I started doing that, but I realized that being part of a story that I could complete and put on my on my shelf, that this is one story I was part of. Let's
Wow.
do another story. That's kind of the nutshell of that.
Wow. Yeah, I collected Rambos when I was a kid, Rambo toys and stuff. I used to dress up as Rambo when I was a kid. I loved doing that. And my older brother, whose name is also Joe, he collected GI Joes. So yeah, I know what that's like. Uh,
Nice.
So you grew up in New Mexico?
Yeah, I grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Mm-hmm. What was that like?
Um, let's see. Well, you know what? It was a normal, for the most part, a normal, I'd say, regular life. My mom is a Swiss citizen that moved to the United States, and she raised me herself.
Mm-hmm.
And she, uh, we had roommates along the way in order to keep our house when my dad left. To be able to keep a garden, a big backyard, and a nice house with with a garden and backyard, so we could have pets. She could do her gardening. We had to have roommates. So New Mexico was a small. It wasn't expensive to live there. So I think for $600 you could have a 4-bedroom home. And so we had two roommates. Um, and then we had 4 bedrooms, my mom's bedroom, my bedroom, and then two other bedrooms that we had roommates. From the time I was basically like 6 years old to the time I left or got out of the house when I was 18 or 19 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned so much from all the roommates we had.
I bet.
All the different personalities, good, bad, and indifferent, ugly, incredible. I mean, I saw it all firsthand. And my mom worked 2 jobs, so I learned a lot from what I saw behind the scenes. I saw how they, a lot of them would change when my mom would, be around. And then from what they didn't share or didn't say, I learned a lot from that as well. That's all gone into, gone all into my creative writing and my creating my stories.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. I love hearing stories about humble beginnings because I can't believe what the person went through when they were a kid and how they got to where they are now as an adult. It's just so profound, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was very fortunate. Nothing really bad has ever happened to me. Um, I was kind of had to take care of myself in a sense because my mom's from another country. She worked 2 jobs, and I would go out and I have to, I could have gotten into a lot of trouble, but I just always chose to do the right thing. I would get in trouble and do things that certainly would get me in trouble, but I never got caught. Just as a kid, being
Yeah.
stupid, going around neighborhood and doing stupid things. But when things came down as I got into middle school and high school and stuff, anytime that like drugs popped up, or even like I played football and steroids or anything like that, I just always knew what the right answer was, and I just automatically made the right decision. And I became that kind of rock for all my friends. So that they needed help or they got in trouble, they always came to me. So I just always maintained that. Um, and I didn't really know anything different, so I didn't realize like all the bullets I had dodged. But my mom worked really hard to keep to keep us safe, to keep me safe. And I
Mm-hmm.
have other friends that didn't have, they made different decisions that, and they didn't have the same outcome and stuff. So, a lot of it's just, oh man, I don't, kind of getting lucky too, I guess.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. So did you start doing theater in school right away?
No, I was like fully, again, I was just by myself. I raised myself. Um, really, I didn't have a lot of guidance or anything from anyone, so I just, I played sports, so that I liked that, but I didn't really like a lot of the mentality of like playing football. And those guys were really tough and aggressive, and you listen to heavy metal
Yeah.
and all that. And there's nothing wrong with that, And as in high school, they would drink and do crazy stuff, and that was just so the opposite of who I was.
Mm-hmm.
I stayed with my childhood best friend, and we played GI Joe. Even in high school, we got caught our freshman year, mid freshman year, playing GI Joe. We didn't know anything different, and his dad caught us, and it felt like we got caught, and it got so embarrassed. And that was the last time that we played with GI Joes. So I remember I was like, oh, I realized that we have to. It's time to grow up from this. So I do remember that moment. Um, but I never got into theater, and I wish I had someone introduce it to me. A lot of the guys, that I knew that were in theater, and the girls, the guys were very, kind of more feminine, and that's at least how I saw it. and a
Mhm.
lot of them were. And going back, I just wish I would have embraced it more and supported them more because it is incredible. A lot of what a if it's something that I love as much as I do now, I can imagine it could have really helped launch my career maybe sooner, being able to learn how to do musical theater or just theater, which I really haven't dabbled in. It wasn't until working in politics and on very high levels, doing a lot of work at a very young age, I realized that politics is a full is an endless story,
Mhm.
and I wanted to be I wanted to be part of something that I truly loved, and like I said, that's what entertainment provided.
That's good. Did you yeah, go to film school?
Say that again.
Did you go to film school?
I did not go to film school.
So sounds to me that you're a self-taught kind of a guy.
Yes.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
I taught myself. I went to like a course on screenwriting to kind of learn some of the writing is something I've always done, just like
Mhm.
creative writing and prose, poems, and short stories creatively. I went to a short course when I got to Los Angeles to learn some of the basics of screenwriting, but then I just dived into it because I fell in love with it. And basically, from that point on, I taught myself, and I've since then, as far as feature screenplays, I've written 17 feature screenplays.
Wow. Yeah, I'm a self-taught screenwriter. I've been doing it since I was 12, and I've only gotten better. I can tell you.
Yeah, it takes a while to kind of learn your voice as a writer and
Mhm.
as a screenwriter too.
Yeah, certainly. When did you move out to LA?
Um, I've been out here on this ground for the last 6 years.
Mhm. 6 years. Did you when you first moved out here, first moved out there, did you get work pretty quickly?
Yeah, I'm trying to think back. I can't remember the year that I originally. I'd come out to LA for a couple of years prior,
Mhm.
and I'd done a lot of work and made a lot of I just worked a lot. Um, and then I went back to New Mexico. I was planning on just going back to just do a small project, and I ended up staying there for like 6 years because
Wow.
my what I learned in Los Angeles was able to progress and just allowed me to create stuff, create a market in New Mexico.
Mhm.
And I didn't want to do that really, but it just there's an opportunity that I could do, so I took it. I just kind of took advantage of it. But um, when I did come back to Los Angeles the second time, which was like I said 6 years ago, I was a completely different person, and I had a much stronger grasp on everything. So within the first 4 years, I had produced 7 feature films,
Wow.
7 or 6 or 8, something like that. And I was working with, they were kind of like B action and B horror movies. I worked with
Yeah.
Danny Trejo, and Vinnie Jones, and Misha Barton, and the late Vern Troyer.
Mhm.
All of them, each of them were just, really, were nice people. I enjoyed working with them all for different capacities, for different reasons.
Oh, that's great. I noticed you did an episode of 24.
I did, yeah. Yeah, gosh, that was a long time ago.
Yeah,
Uh,
my mom grew up with Dennis Haysbert.
with who?
With Dennis Haysbert, the
Uh,
president.
who's that?
He was the president on 24.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, gosh. Yeah, I didn't know who that was. Oh, I'm actually sitting with Christine Marie.
Really?
released Warfighter,
Mm-hmm.
and she just got off one of her projects called Enlisted, which is a film that was done in Phoenix.
Nice, nice.
We're getting a mocha to one of our friends.
Oh, nice.
Mocha. Yeah, but anyway, she's a combat medic in the Army. Did that for 17 years.
Mm-hmm.
She was the only woman to work with in Blackwater in the capacity that she did.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, she has been moderating our Q&As of the Warfighter screening.
Cool. Wow. Yeah, before we get into Warfighter, I wanted to ask, yeah, you had a part in the remake of Fright Night.
I did, yeah. I had 3 scenes, and with Colin Farrell.
Mm-hmm.
That was a lot of fun. We shot that in New Mexico over a week. Had my own trailer. It was one of my first, bigger bookings, which was nice.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a lot of fun. And I think only a small part of what I did actually made it as a movie, which was of course, a disappointment. But that, on films you shoot so much and so little actually makes it to the screen.
Yeah, I love the original, and I never saw this remake because I love the original so much. And every time the cast of the original is in town at a convention, I'm never able to go, and I'm always disappointed by that. I love it so much.
Yeah. Well, the original is incredible. I remember that as a child, that movie scared me every time it came on TV, and I always watched it.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting, I don't know if they claim to fame or just a little note, but Craig Gillespie is the director of the new Fright Night, and he's a great director. And he had cast me. I got to meet him during the callbacks from the audition.
Mm-hmm.
Cast me. He just recently was nominated in his movie for Oscars on a couple different areas for the movie I, Tonya.
Mm-hmm.
And Allison Janney won an Oscar for that movie.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool that when you have a director that casts you that's been that has so much notoriety. And of course now we're down the road. I've only gotten I've gotten more mature as an actor and seasoned and learned some more things, and so has he.
Mm-hmm. And heck, you might be next.
Oh yeah, that would be wonderful. It's always not be humble or anything, but to be right. If you're something that you devote your life to and your passion, or just you're putting your time to something that you love or believe in, and when you do get recognized for it, or you get to accomplish something, even if it's just finishing, it's it means something. It has worth. It adds to who you are.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you better. Well, you can use it to make you better for sure.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So you directed several short films and TV series, and then comes Warfighter. Where did you get the idea for this hard-hitting movie?
Yeah, so I was actually on the set of Lone Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
We were filming Lone Survivor is a movie about Operation Red Wing. For people who are not familiar with it, and Marcus Luttrell is the lone survivor, and Mark Wahlberg plays him in the movie. But I was on the set for a couple weeks, and I got to meet Peter Berg and Mark Wahlberg and Marcus Luttrell and Ben Foster and Emil Hirsch and Eric Bana and Taylor Kitsch. It was just awesome. There's such a great cast and a great director, and I got to just work with them and get to talk with them and meet them on a daily basis. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the days I was standing with Marcus Luttrell, we were recreating the moment when the helicopter was coming to rescue him. We're chatting, and it takes a couple hours to set up scenes and stuff like that. And we're in a parking lot, and there's this big helicopter. It looks like a regular helicopter, but it's on hydraulics.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking, and all of a sudden he just kind of went quiet, and he just goes off, and he just starts staring off. And I realized, I'm thinking like, yeah, everyone's doing the regular day, hustle and bustle, and we're actually recreating a moment where 16 of his fellow brothers, sisters got killed coming to rescue him, and it just hit me in the gut, and I felt this incredible weight in the air, and that was the first ember of inspiration. That said, you know what, I want to take this weight of what I'm feeling, and I want to make a movie about that, of what our service men and women have to go through, and I want to share that. I wanted to share that with everyone, so that's what happened.
How long did it take for you to write?
So from that point on,
Mm-hmm.
from that point on, it took about 3.5 years,
Mm-hmm.
3.5 to 4 years, I'd say, to get Warfighter on out into distribution before we saw our first. It was about 3.5 years before our first test audience saw the movie in a theater.
Wow. And did you take?
And it was a lower, it's a lower budgeted film. It's a micro budget film. It doesn't. I don't think it comes across like that. I mean, not for as small as it was. It had some. It's a great story and interesting. Just putting it together had so many obstacles and challenges, and one punch after another would knock us down. But there's things that usually any other production of money would fix. We didn't have that luxury, so it just took more time and more patience and just not giving up. It took perseverance, and eventually we got to that point.
Mm-hmm. Did you take before Amazon Prime picked it up? Did you take it all over town to major studios?
Yeah, I wouldn't say the major studios. We did speak to a bunch of sales reps and distributors from around the world that have been contacting us. I'd say from a mediocre level to smaller level companies,
Mm-hmm.
and they were wanting to take the film, and just from my experience, I know like 24 producers, but like myself, that have done projects bigger than Warfighter and with celebrities, and over the last 3 and 5 years, and they've had distribution, and they still haven't seen a dime.
Wow.
And I continued to know people that produce films and keep taking these deals. So I had all that information, and they had that information going into their deals, and I didn't want to take. I don't know. I just couldn't. I put so much time and effort into the movie. I didn't want to just give the film up and follow the footsteps. So decided to do self-distribution and do our grassroots campaign. So that's what we're doing, and it's become one of the most successful micro-budgeted films, I'd say, out there. Within the first 4 to 5 weeks, we made our initial money back.
Oh, that's great.
For the production with the production cost.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah, me and my mom, we bought it off of Amazon, and we liked it so much. It reminded us of an HBO art house movie. It just had that look to it, and I like how the movie reminded me of this movie Don Johnson did in the '80s called Ceasefire. Um, with just a tiny touch of this other movie Robert De Niro made called Jackknife. Post-traumatic stress disorder is something I know a lot about myself, and it's it's something that I think is just plaguing this country. There was a comedy bit that George Carlin did back in the '90s where he talks about euphemisms, and he talks about how post-traumatic stress disorder was called shell shock, then battle fatigue, and then finally post-traumatic stress disorder. And he said that if it's still been called shell shock, then many of the Vietnam veterans and even the World War II veterans would have gotten the medical attention they needed at the time.
So were you asking me a question?
Oh no, I was just making a statement about
Okay.
about post-traumatic stress disorder and that.
Okay.
But I thought it was very hard hitting about that and stuff. I love the bar fight scene. That was a pretty funny scene.
Yeah, that was I had written that scene specifically for Scott Scott Ingrati to play my father. He's a dear friend of mine.
Yeah.
And another dear friend of mine, Nick Fleming, he was a great stage actor. Had lots of many years and experience on stage, and I met him in an acting business class of all things, and we became friends. And he was just about to retire from work in his life, and was just going to dedicate his life to. He wanted to get into film and transition from the stage, still work on stage, but transition to film. And I said, would you like to be in my film? And so I made a little role for him. So he's in the bar scene too. But he, about 3 weeks or so, I think, after we filmed, he passed away. It was heartbreaking.
Yeah, Scott's pretty funny in this scene. I like when he says, "This guy's a grade A son of a bitch."
Yeah. Scott, he plays that he's had a stroke, a slight stroke, and the guy named Frank Dukes,
Mm-hmm.
who Jean-Claude Van Damme plays in Bloodsport, is a friend of Scott's, and Scott learned about stroke and conditions of that, so he added that to his character. That was his idea.
Yeah. Wow. Did you mostly cast your friends in roles?
Yeah, I believe in nepotism to the degree, from the standpoint that you pick people that you can trust and that will go the distance with you. At least in the moment, when you're putting a film together, there's so many people that are important and necessary to a production, and you can't, get all the people that you know and that are talented enough. So working with scheduling, you try to get, all the main parts and the most important parts you can.
Mm-hmm.
People that you trust and they got your back.
Yeah, what I was very impressed by was that, you write, produce, direct, cast, star in the movie. I mean, that's a huge responsibility, man. I mean, I just couldn't fathom that, for something that I would do. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's certainly a lot of work. At the end of the day, there's still another 100 positions that aren't named that require other people to fill. And so I did, as much as I could do. There's no way to have done it all by myself. There's a lot of, and the thing is, there's a couple, 2 or 3 key people that were just magnificent in helping me get this, to fruition.
Yeah, wow. 20-hour days, I can imagine. Just, wow. That's just very...
The production days, those are physically hard and stuff, and you're there, and it's kind of like the momentum. You push the snowball off the top of the mountain, and it collects its own momentum, and it just goes. As long as you start a day, you can end a day. The toughest parts are when everything's done, and it's just you and the open void of your film's never going to get completed unless this happens, and this happens, and this happens, and the list goes on and on and on. It's very daunting. Then now it becomes a mind game, and oh gosh, I don't even know. It's more of a feeling, but you just have to get one foot in front of the other and not get discouraged from all the work that has to happen. You just say, what's the next thing to happen? What's the next 2 or 3 things that need to kind of get in place? And you just take it one step at a time. And eventually, it's hard to gauge. You say, I'd like this done in the next couple months, but it could easily take a year and a half, which it did, and eventually it's done. It becomes the biggest relief weight off one's shoulders. At least Warfighter was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a collaborative process too. It's not just you; it's everybody involved in the process, which is good. So do you
Yeah.
So do you have any upcoming projects you would like to plug?
Yeah. We just finished another. I produced another feature film that I'm also the lead in, along with some other great cast. It it was a writing directing debut of an incredible director named Tom Bocci.
Mm-hmm.
He I've met a lot of people. He comes from an editing background, professional editing background, but in marketing and commercials and music videos and stuff. And so he, when I just getting to meet him, he saw Warfighter trailer. It reached him, and it resonated with him. And he contacted me and said, "Hey, I'd like to consider you for the lead of my film." We just hit it off. Everything just worked out. It was meant to be, and one thing led to another. And he's like, "You know what? Will you produce this?" And I said, "Yes, I would." And that was it. We ended up bringing the movie to New Mexico, and we just released the trailer actually recently over the last week or so. We also have some behind-the-scenes footage that's coming out, and Arctic is going to receive a wide theatrical release.
Wow.
Very excited about that. It'll be later on. It'll be likely later on this year. We're still in post-production, but you should check it out. It's kind of like a new Silence of the Lambs, more of an action hybrid horror film.
Wow. What's it called again?
Arctic.
Arctic.
If you, it's spelled Artik, and you have to, when you put it in there, it changes the K to a C. I don't know why, for the spell correct, but you have to put the K back in there. Just for Arctic trailer, the star names are Chase Williamson, Lauren Ashley Carter, and Matt Mercer, and they each have their own. They've all been quite a bit of work in the independent world.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's amazing. I hope that's another success for you. Jerry, I thank you so much for taking the time today, and I hope everyone watches Warfighter because it is an amazing movie.
Yeah, thank you. I do want to just say one last thing that,
Mm-hmm.
In creating Warfighter at the beginning, it was, putting a project together I was very most passionate about on a subject, and it was a vehicle for our careers, for me and my friends and the people involved. It took a lot of miracles that happened along the way, and some magical things, and just a wonderful enlightenments and getting, overcoming different obstacles and stuff. But by the time the movie came together, and we got to show it to our first audience, and the way they were so moved and touched, and they were shaking with emotion, and there was a Q&A, and just people were just touched on many different levels that they didn't really expect, and in the veteran community as well. And it started to bring it was the first hint of bringing civilians and people that weren't in the service or veterans kind of together and sharing stories and compassion.
Oh, that's great.
So realize that the movie is bigger than just a movie now, or just bigger than any of us, and what's become more important is being able to utilize it in any way, shape, or form to just bring more awareness and just relief to our veterans and our service people in any way, shape, or form. And there's so many different aspects to do that. And so each audience has its unique, their unique experiences, and so we can address that as it comes, and we learn more from each audience.
So are you going to do any more convention appearances?
I don't know. Right now, we're not scheduled for. We have some potential. We're going to be showing again in New Mexico, and we're going to be showing in Lancaster, Lancaster, California, and we'll be in. There's like Wisconsin, Chicago, Florida, but those are still have to be set. The dates.
That's great, Jerry. Keep me posted on all of that and stuff.
Cool, man. Yeah. Well, yeah. Thank you so much, brother. It was very nice speaking with you.
Oh, my pleasure. You have yourself a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, please. And I have a lot of friends with other projects, and I can introduce you to Tom as well.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much, Jerry.
You got it. And say hi to your mom.
I sure will.
All right. Bye bye.
All right, bye bye. Well, there you have it. Jerry D'Angelo. Ain't he a cool dude? Thank you so much, Jerry. That was a pretty cool um, interview talking about Warfighter and your humble beginnings. That's just so amazing what you've accomplished. It's very inspirational. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, add me as a friend on Facebook, join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Till next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes.